There are so many of us who have a value of some kind to share with others. There are so many of us who have lived through various forms of life experience and overcome hardships that others simply haven't found a way forwards or through yet. There are so many opportunities for us to teach others the things that we have learned so that they may enhance the quality or the experience of their lives. Yet for some reason, the act of sharing has become a performance. For some reason, getting a camera or a phone or a device of some description or even writing a blog seems to carry with it the weight of expectation that if it's not stimulating or interesting or entertaining enough, then it's immediately dismissed. For the 6 or 7 or 8 months I've been recording these videos, every single time I get this camera, every single time I walk or I sit or I stand somewhere and press that record button, I'm conscious. There is a thought in my mind, often at the front of my mind, which says this needs to be interesting or valuable or relevant. And who defines these things? Who defines what interesting or meaningful or valuable or relevant is? Is it me? Is it you as the viewer? Does it really matter? In today's world where most of us seem to be so disconnected that we're desperate to have a semblance of connection, even if it's not representative of anything meaningful, we often find ourselves engaging with material that's probably not of interest to us. If you go on any social media channel or any application that's geared to keep you on the platform, then the chances are if you spend 5 minutes on the platform, you're going to see about 1 minute of meaningful content. The rest of it will be entertainment, distraction, sensational, novelty. And are those things really valuable for you if what you want is peace of mind? Are those things valuable for you if what you want is to find a way to enhance your experience or surround yourself with people who are just like you? Or to understand yourself better? I would argue not. Yet many of us continue to do that. But the thing is, when we call it into question, we don't really understand it. It doesn't really make sense to us. Now, life is not this performance that we have to show up and get it right the first time, but so many of us believe that that's the case. So many of us are fooled into thinking that unless we do things perfectly and unless we get 100,000 likes or subscribers or we monetize things or we can quit our jobs and pursue our passions, that we're doing it wrong somehow. And who says these things are true? And who says that there's anything wrong with just doing something because you like it? Who says there's anything wrong with living a lower stimulus life? But equally, there's nothing wrong with choosing to follow the path of getting people to like and follow and pay for the things that you do. Increasingly, we become outcome focused. And for thousands of years, philosophers and spiritual teachers have been telling us, in one way or another, that it's not about the outcome. It's not about the destination, it's the journey, it's who we become, it's the transformation that we undergo. And even in the films that we watch and the TV programs that we love so dearly, what we're really into is the journey. It's the journey of becoming, or the hero's journey, as Malcolm Campbell said it to be. Which seems to be somewhat of a paradox. If we know that we love the journey, we know that it's the becoming, then why? Why is it that we are still so focused on the outcome, and why is it in the absence of a guaranteed outcome that we don't even bother to begin in the first place. And I wonder to myself how many of you out there watching these videos have an aspiration to do something, or to be something, or to try something, but because the people around you at some point in your life have convinced you that it will amount to nothing, you have determined that it's of no value. Because the people around you have said, well, you can't possibly make a career from that. Why bother starting in the first place? That it seems pointless to even try. The same people, I would imagine, who live lives of their own, which may be largely devoid of meaning or value or pleasure or joy, apart from the pleasure which can be afforded by television and alcohol and distraction. And we fall into this trap, and we wonder why there is a crisis of mental health. We wonder why innovation is challenged. We wonder why people are increasingly relying on AI as substitute friends and therapists in the absence of the possibility of meaningful human connection. We wonder why people are increasingly stimulated, in fact overstimulated, and having to take medication to reduce their stimulation, when the possibility of reducing stimulation naturally exists in every moment, just as it does here for me, sitting in my car, recording this video for you. And you'll notice there's no music, there's no stimulation, there are no graphics. You may find that boring. You may also notice that the levels of stress you so commonly experience are starting to diminish in the absence of those things. And you may find as soon as you watch this video that you rush straight back into your life and nothing changes. I make these videos as a form of interruption. Maybe disruption is a better word. Not to cause discomfort, but to relieve you from the discomfort that you experience so frequently as a result of being in a world which is increasingly dysfunctional. Dysfunctional by virtue of us feeling more disconnected from our nature, which is happiness, peace, joy, kindness, spaciousness, possibility. And if you are experiencing an absence of those things in your life, then there is always an opportunity to return to them. But the return is not this grand flash of fireworks. It's not the aha moment where the light bulb turns on and stays on forever. It can, for many of us, be a practice. It can, for many of us, be a process where we oscillate between remembering who we are and then forgetting, and again believing that we are in some way dysfunctional, that the world is a bad place, that people are inherently untrustworthy, that everything is out to get us and drain our money and our time and our resources. And whilst that may be the case, it's not the entirety of the story. But unless we see things from an alternative perspective, from a different vantage point, then there is no possibility of change. There is no possibility of us gaining what we call freedom or liberation, which is not the freedom that so many of us are seeking financially, or the freedom from our jobs, or the freedom from our debts. It's the freedom from believing that those things define us and allowing ourselves to be defined by those things. It's the freedom from defining ourselves by our past and the things that happened to us and the people that hurt us and the stories we have been told that justify why we should consider ourselves to be victims of life. And we have the ability to see past all of these things. We have the ability to see these things as clouds passing in the sky, which may appear to be in the sky very frequently, but not 100% of the time. And so here's the opportunity. The opportunity is to engage with things which encourage the alternate perspectives. The alternative perspective that helps us remember that life is not a performance to be managed. It's not something we have to get right first time, and none of us do. And even the people who appear to be getting it right, at some level may still experience hardship or suffering or disconnection. And in fact, many of the people who are incredibly successful experience that to a higher degree than the rest of us do, because their search for external freedom has only resulted in bondage to a life of continuous effort and striving without meaningful reward. And the reward that all of us seek is peace of mind. But peace of mind cannot be found in the mind. For peace of mind to exist, we have to step out of the mind. We have to see that the mind is just a movement. It's a movement of thoughts, which for so many of us, we are constantly identified with, constantly trying to silence. And we cannot silence thinking we're thinking. This is not possible. But we can see past the thinking, to refuse to be defined by it, and to come back to the remembering, not the mental remembering, but the embodied spiritual remembering that we are infinite. The possibility is all around us and in us in every moment. And that if we happen to say or do something that doesn't yield the result that we want, we don't have to give up. We don't have to label ourselves as failures. We don't have to judge ourselves for not doing the things the way that we thought we should. We can be kind and exercise compassion and then move forwards, perhaps in a different direction. And equally, we can extend the same degree of understanding and kindness to the people around us, our families, our children, our colleagues. And then we have the opportunity to see what this world really has in store for us. We have the opportunity to connect to the depth of possibility to create better. Not because better yields an outcome of guaranteed financial success, but because better is simply a life lived in connection, in love, in peace. And these are not aspirational states or some kind of spiritual optimism. These are as much a possibility for all of us as the possibility is for us to send ourselves to hell, as the possibility is for us to create suffering for ourselves and for those around us by trying to take more than we give. And yes, it may at first be unfamiliar, it may be uncomfortable, it may require us to reorient ourselves from what we are used to, which for many of us is judgment and pain and fear of failure and conflict, and to reorient ourselves towards possibility, kindness, appreciation, blessing, and then to start to see our world changing accordingly. Because all of us experience change in the same way, and all change is a change of thought. And it becomes possible and easier to change our thoughts when we recognize that thought is not the entirety of our life experience. Thought is something which is constantly changing. And whether it's there or not, we can identify it, but we can also step back from it. In the same way that we can engage ourselves with this scene that's unfolding before us, or we can witness without preference, without judgment, without trying to change anything or labeling things as good or bad. So I invite you into that space. I invite you into that space of possibility where the life that you are seeking exists for you. And that yes, of course you are free, always to move towards the outcomes you seek, just as you are free to move towards the outcomes that you don't seek. One of those acts is conscious, the other is less so. But the possibility arises to see this only in space. In the space that comes from taking yourself away from the busyness of your life and watching life unfold at its own natural pace. Going out for a walk, going to grab a coffee with friends, and just observing how things are unfolding around you without trying to influence them. And recognizing that when you aren't trying to control things, that your ability to shape them, ironically, is magnified. If you hear something in this which is of value to you, do let me know. If you like what you hear, then please encourage you to stick around. And if you'd like to know more, please leave a message in the comments, contact me through my website. I'd be happy to go further with you. Until the next time, thank you.